Heaven's Journey to Life. Are all choices damned? Day 44. As mentioned in the previous post, we're continuing with walking more detail into the mind-consciousness system relationship to the physical body, where, because we have to exist in a cause and acceptance, separation, and effect and allowance, manifestation of friction and conflict as negative energy experience that accumulate the neutral to the positive. For energy to exist, we, within that accepted and allowed relationship, lost all control, directive principle, will, and choice over and of the consequence and consequence outflow, that relationship of energy to substance and mind to physicality manifest, and thus how ourselves in this existence manifest and has manifested through consequence and consequent outflow within and as the manifestation of ourselves as energy, as a relationship of cause and acceptance and effect and allowance, just for ourselves as energy to survive and possess ourselves to control our authority and godhood within ourselves. Within this, having a look at the implications of accepting and allowing energy to be authority over and of life. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to, from the beginning, give energy authority over and of life and substance, manifested as the signing of the deal with the devil, the offering of my soul in and as fear and fear of loss, for my addiction and temptation as temporary and tempting saturation and empowerment of and as energy and positive energy experience, that bedeviled my nature and action into and as deliberate blame, as spite, excuse, and justification, as a deliberate manipulation, abuse, and misuse of substance and life, excusing life authority for energy, devil, mind, money authority to exist, as consuming substance to transform into energy, justified as defying life and physicality and deifying energy, mind, and money, through and as deliberate friction and conflict, spite, for the survival and rewarding and empowerment and saturation of me as energy and mind and money authority, to protect and defend only my survival and possession as empowerment of and as energy itself, through and as the entire relationship of me as energy to substance, within and as cause and acceptance, and effect and allowance, as consequence and consequence outflow. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that my only purpose as energy authority is survival within and as fear and fear of loss, through and as the nature and action of blame as spite, excuse, and justification, within and as the relationship of cause and acceptance and effect and allowance as consequence and consequence outflow, where I've manifested me as an acceptance of separation and an allowance of friction and conflict as negative energy experience accumulation to the neutral and positive energy experience, that it is and has become my automated existence as energy authority. And within that acceptance of separation and allowance of friction and conflict as negative energy experience accumulation, abdicated my ability of responsibility, directive principle, will, and choice, where throughout time, responsibility as energy authority, responsibility diminished and limited to the ability of me only responding to my fear and fear of loss the moment my energy experience awareness of the positive lessen to the neutral and to the negative, that automatically instigate and initiate my movement inward and forward for my reward and empowerment saturation as addiction and temptation of and as positive energy experience. Thus, my responsibility was only to my own survival, with no consideration in regard to life and substance as the means and ways and methods within and as the nature and action of blame as spite, excuse, and justification, as manifesting deliberate friction, conflict, to consume substance and transform into energy for me to survive. Directive principle as energy authority. As energy authority, my directive principle manifested as control, where I manage the relationship of cause and acceptance, acceptance of separation, and effect and allowance, the manifestation of that separation as the friction and conflict that manifests the negative energy experience, as consequence and consequence outflow, to ensure that I as energy fulfill my responsibility of survival unto myself only, where within this control, I control only me within myself, and thus have control of only me within myself, within and as my limited and diminished functioning of maintaining the relationship of me as energy, to substance within and as separation, and the friction and conflict manifesting the negative energy experience. This control that has now been automated by and as consciousness, with its responsibility of ensuring survival within and as fear and fear of loss, within and as the mind consciousness system, and now control my entire mind consciousness system for me, managing the constant and continuous relationship of cause and acceptance, acceptance of separation, and effect and allowance, the manifestation of that separation as the friction and conflict that manifests the negative energy experience, as consequence and consequence outflow, to ensure that I, as energy, fulfill my responsibility of survival unto myself only. Will, as energy authority. My will as energy authority exists as automated initiation and instigation by and through the negative energy experience within and as fear and fear of loss, to protect and defend my responsibility and control of and as survival unto me as energy only, where the moment my energy experience awareness lessen to the negative energy experience, it instigate and initiate as motivate my movement inward and forward for my reward, temptation, and addiction of and as energy and positive energy experience, empowerment and saturation, through and as the process of consuming substance to transform into energy within and as the deliberate nature and action of me as blame of spite, excuse, and justification, and the relationship of cause and acceptance and effect and allowance of consequence and consequence outflow. Choice as energy authority, where I had in the beginning manifested my choice in and as my who, how, and what I am as energy authority, manifested as the deal with the devil, the offering of my soul, that manifested me into and as the eternal damnation of my internal and external existence, as I will eternally exist within and as deliberate blame, as spite, excuse, and justification, as a deliberate manipulation, abuse, and misuse of substance and life, excusing life authority for energy, devil mind, and money authority to exist, as consuming substance to transform into energy, justified as defying life and physicality and deifying energy, mind, and money, through and as deliberate friction and conflict, spite, for the survival and rewarding and empowerment and saturation of me as energy and mind and money authority, to protect and defend my responsibility and control of and as only my survival and possession, through and as the entire relationship of me as energy to substance, within and as cause and acceptance and effect and allowance as consequence and consequence outflow. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to abdicate responsibility to protecting and defending only my survival and possession as energy, directive principle to controlling only my survival and possession as energy, will to automate motivation as instigation and initiation of and as fear and fear of loss, of and as the negative energy experience awareness of me for my survival and possession as energy only. Choice to eternally damn me and existence as me for only my survival and possession as energy only, where I had made the choice eternally of who, how, and what I am as energy, within and as the manifestation of and as the deal with the devil, the offering of my soul. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to abdicate an existence of life, of equality and oneness of responsibility, directive principle, will, and choice, of living and creating, to an existence of energy and separation, of protecting and defense, control, motivation within fear and damnation of evil and survival, that has become the existence of me from the beginning to the mind consciousness system and the world system of money, not seeing, realizing, and understanding how and why, my nature and action of and as deliberate blame within and as spite, excuse, and justification, as expecting change, waiting for change, praying for change, wishing for change, is in fact me deliberately postponing the change of me as energy authority, as I will continue in and as energy and separation of protection and defense, control, motivation within fear and damnation of evil and survival to remain as energy authority, mind, and money, for me to continue existing as energy, mind, and money authority, and will only not take the responsibility, directive principle, will, and choice of and as life authority, of and as equality and oneness, as what is best for, as what will and what is be best for all, because I deliberately regard me as energy as the authority over and of all of existence. And in this deliberate refusal and postponement of me as energy authority not changing, I am the devil incarnate, and regard my possessions and survival of and as energy, temptation, and empowerment more than the equal and one opportunity of life and living for all of humanity within and as equality and oneness. I commit myself to stop postponing the change of me from energy, authority, survival, and possession within and as separation of protection and defense, control, motivation within fear and damnation, as I see, realize, and understand that the longer I postpone, the more the consequence and consequence outflow of me as mind and world system will manifest in my physical body and this physical existence as me, that only exist as I have abdicated my responsibility, directive principle, will, and choice, in and as the choice with the deal with the devil, the offering of my soul that had limited and diminished me into and as an existence of separation, of protection and defense, control, motivation within fear and damnation, damning me and all as me, within and as me continuing to exist as the choice of damnation, as energy authority over and of life authority. I commit myself to, through, within and as the process of writing, self-forgiveness, and self-corrective application change from protection and defense responsibility of only me as energy within and as the polarity competition between the negative, neutral, and positive in energy experience, managing my survival as energy, to responsibility, where I get to know me as my entire mind consciousness system and be able to effectively stand and respond to me within and as my mind, where I no more exist in automation as consciousness, but in fact have the ability to stand and respond and direct me within myself, in and as self-awareness of and as equality and oneness, with and as my human physical body, to in fact live. From control to self-directive principle, where in and as the process of getting to know my entire mind consciousness system, as a process of standing equal to and one with it and taking responsibility for it as me, I, in the process of changing me from automated consciousness, where I release myself from knowledge and information and reactions to living words. I become the self-directive principle of me, as I direct me as the living word, equal to and one with the physical, within and as the principle of and as life and life authority, as what is and will be best for all. From motivation within fear and fear of loss for survival to the will and expression of life, as I commit myself to walk my process of standing up and birthing me as life from the physical, and no more deliberately postpone the change of me from energy authority and evil to life authority and living. From choice of damnation to decision of and as life, as I commit myself to walk in and as every moment of breath, every point and part as step through and as my mind, until I am in fact living proof of and as the living word in and as equality and oneness with my physical body and eventually this physical existence, where this decision is a decision I make for myself as for all, to stop damnation and birth life from the physical, for me as for all. In this, I commit myself to implement the equal money system that will exist within responsibility, directive principle, will, and choice for and as all of humanity in this physical existence, in and as equality and oneness, and no more manifest an existence of damnation to humanity and this physical existence in its current accepted and allowed state of separation, of protection and defense, control, motivation within fear to serve only its own survival and possession, of and as money and the consequence and consequence outflow, and manifest to all within existence.